Hello BookTube. Dare I start another video with the words, "It's been a while. It's good to be back." Yes, unfortunately, I don't need to say it. I'm a teacher. I've been busy. It's the end of the term, lots of marking, exams, and then a sport fierce. But enough of that. I was tagged by two of my favorite booktubers, Steve Donahue and Leah at Hide and Seek, and they tagged me in the My Pleasures book tag. And I've been planning on doing this one for so long, but man, time is not your own when you work, you know. But I'm making an effort today, and I am going to get through this tag, come hell or high water. So the first question is, a book that made you think hard. Now my first comment that I find I need to say at this point is that it's not the book that makes you think hard, it's the reader that chooses to think hard. Because there are loads of books out there that one can do on a very superficial level, or, you know, get something more out by delving a bit deeper. But for the sake of this tag, I went for this one, Atlas Shrugged by Ayn Rand. And the reason I've chosen this book is that this is basically a philosophical argument for the pros of a very strict form of capitalism. And Ayn Rand puts together a very convincing argument with the analogy that she creates in this book, with the characters and the setting, etc. And reading this one just on its surface is going to probably alter one's thoughts. So what I enjoyed with this book was the argument that I constantly was putting together to disprove what she was saying. And I really enjoyed that. But as you can see, this is rather a large argument. But I quite enjoyed the experience. I didn't agree with her, as it's, I think, pretty obvious by now. But I could see where she was coming from. She came from a communist country and ended up living in a capitalist one, and she felt that capitalism was definitely the way to go. But obviously this is one of those areas where there are multiple shades in between, and not just one system works very well. So I enjoyed this one for the thinking process that it created, because I could not take it just at surface value. The second question is, a book that broke or mended your heart. I don't reread often. So I will have a book that I enjoy, but I can't say mended my heart. But there are definitely books out there that break my heart, and those are generally books about animals. So this is The Dog Who Dared to Dream by Sunmi Hwang. And, you know, I sometimes wonder why the word humane is based on human, because humans are not the great example of humane out there. And this is one of those books that really destroyed me a little bit, because I was rooting for this poor dog, and it was just one thing after another. It was very soul destroying. So when it comes to books about animals, yeah, then they can break my heart. People, it doesn't really faze me. I suppose that's also says a lot about the world that we're living in, that we've been so desensitized towards crime and violence against each other that it doesn't have any effect. But at least it does with animals. The third question is Eat, a book that nourishes you. So I went for Quiet by Suzanne Cain. It's a very pretty book, because it's Quiet is written in white, it's just embossed on top. And why I enjoyed this one, I have a feeling that the question itself initially was looking for something a little bit deeper, but I don't read books for spiritual fulfillment, so you're going with what I can. And we live in a society where being extroverted is the desired personality type, let's put it that way. And in my job, it's extroverts who seem to do better. They're the ones who can do the magnificent orals that come out like stand-up comedy, etc. And then of course there's things like, you know, let's put on stage productions where you go prance around on stage in front of so many people and, you know, make an absolute idiot of yourself, where I'd rather be sitting in the corner chewing my leg off without anesthetic. And this book made me realize that that's all right, that it's fine, that I would rather be doing that, and that I have other strengths. And she highlighted the strengths that introverts have, as opposed to just making us feel like, you know, the awkward, uncomfortable one who doesn't like being in crowds. And so I got a lot out of that for those reasons, because, yeah, as I said, you know, in my career, being an introvert is not quite the norm, you know. But anyway, then Laugh, a book that brought out a little comic relief. So I don't generally laugh while reading. There's one book that I've read that I had a good chuckle with, and that was The Martian by Andy Weir. But I went for Neil Gaiman's The Graveyard Book, because this book did provide comic relief, and it wasn't just because I read the book and enjoyed it. I also went onto his website, and there they had the links to the videos where he was doing this as public readings when the book was released, and Neil Gaiman was reading it, and he can read the telephone directory to me, and I will be absolutely enraptured. So watching him and hearing him read this was brilliant as well. But he does the right pauses, the right expressions, the accents, little actions, you know, like he'll run his hands through his hair and things like that, and that just really did it for me. Absolutely enjoyed that. Then book number 5 says Sex, a book that explores or contains sexuality that doesn't make you cringe. Now, if I had time for editing, I'd put in crickets chirping. I don't like reading graphic sex in books. For one, it's like a really involved action scene in, let's say, a war or something. You know, you've got people here and people there, and they're moving and they're doing this, and then you've got the fight scene, and the sword is swinging and swaying, and this one's dodging and ducking and diving. And it's the same thing with the sex scene, isn't it? Except, well, there's a lot fewer people involved. But, you know, a leg is here and a hand is there, and suddenly something else, and I'm going, oh, ow, that sounded uncomfortable. And then you also have the fact that, you know, natural biological body parts are then given the most random names. And it just seems stupid. Here we are dealing with the mature topic of sexual intercourse, and things need to have their names changed because of what, modesty? So, yeah, and plus it's a bit voyeuristic, so I always cringe during sex scenes in books. Number 6, Rest, a book that gave you peace, reflection, or just calms you down. And for that, I'm going for The Power of One by Courtenay. And the reason is because this book feels like coming home. When I was living overseas in South Korea and I was getting homesick, I reread The Power of One, and it filled the notch for me. And I think what I really like with this is that is a reflective side, because this was the first South African book that I had ever really read, you know, because I wanted to and not because I needed to check a box for school requirements. And this book got me to accept my country for the good, the bad, and the horrifically ugly, and still find good in it. And yeah, it's the setting as well, Barberton, and the way they describe it, and the mountains, and the people, the characters. And yes, there are some horrible characters in here, but they're not just one-sided horrible. So yeah, this book does something for me. It smells like home. And then the last book, well, the last question says Experience, a book that introduced you to a new subject or shifted your perspective. And I know this is a topic that I've mentioned before on this channel, but I couldn't think of something else for this. So I went for Dissolution by CJ Sansom. And that is because this book started me off on quite the journey. I have since read Wolf Hall. My favorite bookshop in the world has phoned me today to tell me that the next one is waiting for me. So yay for Wolf Hall. It then got me to buy Philippa Gregory and Alison Weir as well, and I'm now on the hunt for non-fiction on this era as well, because I'm finding it very interesting when the church was kicked out of England, and Thomas Cromwell seems a very, very interesting character, although he was only a bit of a side note in this book, but it's definitely started a ball rolling there. My other option could have been Between Shades of Grey by Ruta Sepetys, because that one then got me onto reading the biography on Stalin, and got me answering a lot of questions that I didn't even know existed before I had read that book. So that was the My Pleasures book tag. And the one thing I am unprepared for is tagging people. So I'm going to take the easy way out on this one, and I'm going to say I'm going to tag anyone who would like to do it, because yeah, it's been a while since I have had the luxury of having time to go through BookTube. But as I said, the holidays have started now, woot. So with luck, I will be able to catch up on videos and catch up on making videos, which would be pretty darned awesome, if nothing else. Thanks so much for watching. See you next time. Bye.